This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Look at that! They did it again! As some of you know, I have tree envy, and I'm not too big to admit it. And it's not just because I'm only 5'3". Most of my content has come from exploiting the beauty of trees so far this year. And today, I'm here to do it again. Full disclosure, I'm also planning a project where I make a tree. This may be getting out of hand. But the other day, I was at the thrift store looking at fabric because my friend texted me and she was like, yo, there's some choice bed sheets here. And lo and behold, I found this curtain. I don't really know what it is, but incredible. Love her. This print is everything. I didn't really know what to turn it into, but then I decided that I don't have enough springtime dresses that look like this. So I just decided that I would do a smaller project this week and make a dress in 3 days. So how about that design? So I'm going for a very similar dress to the one I'm wearing in the intro with a few tweaks. The same A-line skirt and a ruched bust with larger puffed sleeves, a fitted bodice with a tie in the middle and buttons all down the front. I have also decided to do these as separate so they're more versatile in my wardrobe. I mean, what's better than one dress? A cute shirt and a cute skirt that can also be worn as a dress. And if I have time, I'll also probably make a little matching hair scarf just to, complete the aesthetic. Whenever I wear hair scarves, I normally kind of look like one of those babushka cats, but I'm determined to make them work for me. This is my year, you guys. I'm gonna stop looking like a sad basset hound whenever I wear things on my head. Also, I gotta show you guys something. Maybe you can help me figure out what it is. Look at that. What would you guys call that? Almost like a square space. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is an all-in-one hub for all of your branding, website building, and website marketing needs. They offer dozens of professional and customizable website and portfolio templates and give you endless control over features like text, colors, and various website pages, and they have tons of handy features to help you along in your customization and marketing. With other services, I have really struggled to make my portfolio look good, so I am particularly fond of automatic image scaling, which automatically gives your pieces an appealing arrangement as soon as they're uploaded. And as a maximalist, I also use a lot of different audio, video, and social blocks which allow you to integrate different media seamlessly into your site, even your social medias, because with social blocks you can link your various social media accounts to your Squarespace site and display recent social media posts on your site to make your branding feel even more unified. Squarespace also has a really convenient e-commerce platform which can be linked directly to your portfolio or website and used with a sustainable and low-effort print-on-demand service, which is absolutely perfect if you're a busy creator. It makes the purchasing process so much easier for both you and your clients. And Squarespace also offers a thorough range of analytics for both your store and your website, so you can better understand who your clients are, where they're from, and how to best market yourself. So if you would like to create a striking and personal website or portfolio, head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/PricklyAlpaca to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's pursuit of turning myself into a tree again. I feel like I said this very recently. Now let's get back to it. Hello. It is day one, and right now I am about to start figuring out some patterning stuff. So I have my design, but I'm still a little bit unsure about what I want to do for the skirt. This fabric is like so cute, but it's also a little bit stiff. Does the fabric pass inspection? So I'm trying to take into account like how it'll flow and how it'll lay for what kind of skirt I actually want to do with this dress. I know I want it to be short because frankly I don't think I have enough fabric for a long skirt. Obviously the one in my design is short and I think that should work well. I'm also a little afraid that it's going to be serving chicken feed bag because again this is a curtain. It's gonna hang like a curtain. So I'm kind of thinking about doing maybe a quarter circle skirt. But I think option A is just to use the skirt pattern from the Rose Cafe dress that I bought from Daria Pattern Making. I'm probably going to use part of the bodice pattern for this. So it seems only natural that I also attempt to use a skirt, but it's also gonna have some ruffling on the bottom. So I don't know if this one is gonna be flowy enough. I don't know. We're just gonna figure it out basically. Okay, come lovies, join me in a little bit of sewing chaos. Cut this out. Hello, it is day 2. It's dark and rainy outside, so I am holed up in my sewing room. I have lemon water. I am feeling like a very refreshed little cave-dwelling creature, and today I'm gonna work on sewing this thing together, so let's get started. First, I forgot to cut out a lining for the skirt, so I'm gonna use this stuff just because it's sheer and flowy. So, getting sheer fabrics to lay flat has about the same difficulty level as getting the executive producer to not pounce on my fabrics. That's why she's not in here right now. So in the middle of that, I was like, actually it would make so much more sense to French seam the skirt because of how I'm handling the lining, so I'm gonna undo all that and French seam it instead. Foresight? Who is she? So I removed every pin I had just impaled into my skirt pieces, and was showing you this necessary? No. But it was necessary to avoid the monotony of my gloomy basement. So I then stabbed my skirt pieces together again, this time wrong sides high-fiving, and French seamed them together with the grace and precision of Francois Toulour in that one scene from Ocean's 12. So I repeatedly stabbed the first layer, trimmed any survivors, flipped it inside out, and stabbed again, resulting in a clean seam that never fails to make me feel like I know what I'm doing. The recipe for this skirt also called for darts, so I pinned and then sewed all of those little pizza slices together, and now I would very much like a slice of pizza, but it doesn't matter what I want, because the sewing community demands that I press all of my fabrics. So I did just that, and despite this step always trudging along at armadillo pace, you can't deny those results, because ironing really does take this from chicken feed bag to a Shein level sewing project. And speaking of waist, it's time to cut the waist band. I cut a 3-inch strip of fabric a little longer than my waist measurement, and pressed all the edges down so it would be extra crispy, like a freshly opened bag of extra crunchy Flamin' Hot Cheetos, which coincidentally also happened to be my weekend plans. While I was ironing and thinking about snacks, I also went about making the gathered ruffles for the hem by ironing down that hemmed edge, sewing it cleanly into place, and then adding a little basting stitch all along the top so that I can gather my ruffles, which amazingly went way better this time than my pine tree dress, although I don't imagine it could be worse. Talk about armadillo speed. So to prep for the skirt finishings, I stitched up the front 2 edges where the buttons are gonna go, and then pinned on my waistband and sent that through my little fabric torture device. It came out pretty satisfying, and I can't believe how much it just looks like a normal garment. I mean, this is me we're talking about. Be very impressed. So to top it off, or to bottom it off, depending on how you look at it, I cut the skirt to length a little shorter per my design, pinned on all of my ruffles, stitched those on, and once again disposed of any survivors. And after a quick press to appease the sewing goblins, hello! Okay, it still needs some buttons and buttonholes, but now we have more or less a completed skirt. It came together very quickly. Daria's pattern was incredibly easy to work with, and if you're wondering why this is a skirt and not an entire dress, that's because I decided to once again split these up into separates so that they're more versatile for my wardrobe. I also struggle a little bit less whenever I make just a skirt or just a blouse, so I think this is gonna work out better for me for that reason too. Anyways, I'm not gonna do buttons right now because I forgot to buy buttons the other day, and I still have to do that. So instead, next, I'm just gonna start tackling the bodice. Which sounded like a great, efficient idea, right? But my friends, how could I possibly get started on the bodice when the executive producer looks like this? So I literally waited until she got up, and then I got started. I just wanted to let you guys know that my priorities are in the right place. Or mostly in the right place, because the last thing I did that night was quickly pin and sew together the outer and lining layers of the bodice, because apparently my psych rewatch is just that important.
Heard about Pluto?
Also, resting my walnut brain is, because I was exhausted. What's your favorite episode of Psych? Some of my favorites are that one where Wesley from The Princess Bride pretends to be an art thief when he's really just committing insurance fraud, and the one literally titled, "This Episode Sucks," because of all the Lestat references.
I can't help being a gorgeous fiend.
Okay, that's beside the point, because it's now day 3, the actual final day. Are you impressed with me for clocking exactly how long this would take in the intro? I even actually filmed that before finishing the dress. I mean, obviously. Today we're gonna begin our day by going out and getting some buttons that I forgot to get the other day. We're going on an adventure. Buttons have been acquired. Well, that was extremely underwhelming. Most of the filming I did when I was out was for a future video. Subscribe for that. All right, let's get back to it. So I first also cut the lining for the sleeve, so I basted that down, and I was also too lazy the night before to attach the cups to the bodice layers, so I also quickly did that just to get this show on the road, and I figured to be really efficient, I would go ahead and begin attaching the bodice layers. But the recipe for the bodice included these cute ties, which had to be made, and I kid you not, I spent an entire hour turning a little tie made inside out with pliers, as to hide my seams and make it all crisp. And this probably now ranks in the top 10 most frustrating, mundane experiences of my life. It took me about an hour to do this. I hated every second of it. Once I had my ties, I snipped them in half and inserted them into that top bodice seam. I then sewed that top seam together at Lightning McQueen Sonic the Hedgehog nitrous oxide speed because I had just lost an hour of my life and I was within an inch of my sanity. I also did that little trick where I sew along the top seam of the lining to avoid the dreadful lumpy neckline. Then I once again pressed all along the finished seam for that crispy finish, all on my own accord, of course. And now it was time to bone all the seams. This time I didn't want to use the lining as a boning channel, so I sewed a bit of bias binding to the inside of the outer layer instead. I pinned all along the seams and sewed it from the outside, and then sewed over another 1/4 inch or so to close the channel. I cut a bunch of zip tie boning to length and put that in, and then I closed the 2 front seams where the buttons are gonna go, adding another seam to accommodate boning there as well, and slipped those in. And at this point the bodice was looking good. That's weird. Hello there. So quick update because I haven't been talking to the camera a whole lot. I've been sewing away and making some pretty good progress on the bodice. I have most stuff done, honestly. I really just need to add buttonholes, buttons, and finish up the bottom seam. Real quick before I do that, I'm gonna take a little detour to work on the sleeves. So for the sleeves, I also began by basting them down so that I could gather them, and when gathering works, it is oh so satisfying. Is this what it feels like to not intensely struggle on a sewing project? I just pinned those gathered puff sleeves onto my armbands, and they kind of looked like little chef hats. Aw, I wonder if there's a rat under there. Sadly, there was no rats, but there was a short time lapse of me sewing the sleeves, followed by some rapid French seaming of the sleeve side seam, which is frankly pretty on brand for my rat jokes, and the word frankly is on brand to describe this very French bit for obvious reasons. Now comes the task of stretching elastic to the top seam of the sleeve, which was an annoying experience that nearly trampled my spirit. Sometimes I wonder if there's something wrong with me because I do genuinely enjoy sewing. Why do I enjoy suffering? Why do I enjoy practicing the dark arts in their purest form? Hello, I'm so tired. It's literally midnight right now, but we have sleeves. Look at that. Oh, they're so cute. I'm also very determined to finish at least most of this tonight. I don't have very much left at all. Just gotta attach these sleeves on, sew up this bottom hem, and then buttons and buttonholes. Fingers crossed. I'm gonna just go really fast now. Come on, friends. Oh, I quickly and aggressively pinned and sewed the sleeve because I have no patience for cold shoulders. And I also have no patience for giant unfinished holes. So I also pinned and sewed up that bottom seam. And now comes yet another entire hour of uninterrupted annoyance because it's buttonhole time. And I found my buttonhole foot, but sometimes it just doesn't work. So I marked where I wanted all my buttons to go and decided the best way to do the holes is to stitch them all manually with a zigzag stitch, which means these buttons are third cousins twice removed by marriage and not twins. And honestly, they look better than I thought they would, but they still look pretty bad. So we are basically done. I've sewn in all of my buttonholes. I did manage to find my buttonhole foot, but it is kind of unreliable in whether or not it works well. It wasn't working super well today, so I actually ended up doing all of these by hand with just like a zigzag stitch, which means that they're like a little bit messy and irregular and not exactly ideal considering the rest of this is probably on the cleaner side of my work. But you know what? It's late and I don't really care. So the only thing that I have left is to sew on a couple of buttons. So I'm gonna get a snack and I'm gonna go do that. So I hand sewed on all of those little round attachment devices just as quickly as I could because I wanted to go to sleep. Okay, I just finished buttons and I tried it on and I love it. I'm so excited. I feel like I finally made the first like wearable garment that I've ever made. It doesn't look like a costume. I'm very excited. Anyways, let's do a reveal. Hello! Thank you so much for watching. It was so nice to do a project that was like surprisingly painless this week after the last couple of projects I've done have gotten a little bit out of hand. So thank you for watching and being here. But as always, the biggest thank you goes to my patrons, especially my executive producers. Dodo, Zyel S, Shay Lee, Sable Skies, The Cat's Bark, Alwyn Hayes, Thea Maia, Ruled by Pluto, Agent Sketchy, Wolven_Arts, Corvid Dome, Lovisa, Eloquent Silence, In the Galaxy, Cleos, Meeks Hunter, Megan Penland, Sushi McNushi, Satoni, Mel W, Jim Jiminy, India Gloom, Hypnos, Refmlings, Katie, Michael Twycross, Sweet Winter Garden, Gravity Drop, Bobo McFo, Will Schmidt, and Bean the Bread. If you would like to become a patron and gain access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content on my videos, the link will be in the description. How am I supposed to sew a dress whenever I have this to distract me?